Welcome to another episode of Life in the Military Spouses Edition. This week, we're continuing with Advent and we're bringing up the topic of joy. And I feel like compared to last week, joy is a little bit of an easier topic to talk about because, especially in this lifestyle, it's easier to find the joy in the moment, or try to at least find the joy in the moment, than it might be to find the peace. And we've talked about this in other episodes of like joy and fun and the excitement of our lives. But when I feel like this is a different thought process, is at least for me. Like, so thinking about just happy memories is different than joy. At least for me. So Ash, are you the same way where you think of the happy moments are different than joy, or is it kind of one and the same?
No. So you stole the words right out of my mouth. So actually, I was thinking this morning, I was kind of preparing and I was like, kind of wanting to pull up the definitions of both. And, which I didn't, which is fine. But, happiness and joy to me are completely different. I think a lot of people maybe get them confused or get them mistaken or lump them together. But, anything brings people happiness. A pair of cute, fluffy socks brings somebody happiness. And joy to me is like pure joy is like pure contentment, pure just what I don't know even how to explain it, but it's like it's deep down. You don't need anything to give you that feeling of happiness or contentment. It's that to me, that is joy. It's what's inside deep down that is just something that is satisfactory in your life.
Absolutely. So as I sit here, I sit next to a computer when we record. So I pulled it up. The definition of joy is a feeling of great pleasure and happiness, whereas happiness is more of a catch-all for okay or all right. The phenomenon of joy is completely unique and difficult to put into words, according to like Webster's dictionary. Like, this is the little blurb that I'm seeing here, from Webster's dictionary. And so it's like it also says here, the word joy refers to the emotion evoked by well-being, success, or good fortune, and is typically associated with the feeling of intense, long-lasting happiness. So it's interesting because we've talked about happiness is what I feel like we've talked about, right? How do we make the life that we live happy and find that happiness more than we've talked about finding the joy? Because joy is like, I don't know, I always think back to, I have a couple of pictures from Germany that just bring me insane joy when I look at them, because they are two pictures. One of them is Chris and Abby in winter in Germany, like right before Chris left. We had a big snowstorm right before he left, and it was this moment of the two of them, and I see the snow behind them, and it's snowing in the picture, and I have both of them. So it's this one picture because I can then go immediately to the memory of hearing the two of them laughing as I did the picture. And it's this belly laugh out of a toddler. I mean, she was less than a year old. So, it's that belly laugh. It's him laughing and giggling, and it's joy. It's joy before we know an inevitable goodbye is coming, but it's that joy of that moment. And the other thing I always think of is Inside Out. Of how
the movie?
Yes, the movie. And how the character, and when you look at the memories as they go through the memories, how sometimes we clip the memory right here as joy or sadness, but how the memories at the end of Inside Out become more of a fluidity between the moment as it can go, well, did you look before that moment? Did you look after that moment? What were they, yes, that snippet was joy, which I want to keep as a core memory, yes. But it's the fluidity, but it's also the intense feeling of it.
Mm-hmm. I this isn't military related, but just this past week I found out that my high school soccer coach had passed away in November. And my mom sent me a clip of the obituary in the paper. That's how she found out. And I was heartbroken because I started remembering the memories that I had in high school, and he was such a big part of it, and being in those core memories for me in that part of my life, and that memory and those times are joy.
Yes.
Because again, and you just read the definition, it is a long lasting. I can look back on those times, and with that coach, he's only one of three coaches I ever had. My dad coached me most of my early childhood, and then I had one other coach in the mix. I can't remember his name. And then I had Coach Ray. And especially those two men, my dad and that coach, they shaped me. They're part of molding me into who I am, and who I was going to become. And it was, and again, I can just look back, and it's that long lasting memory, that long lasting happiness that brings so much joy into my life. And so that sparked a memory, sparked that thought. I just wanted to share.
But I think you made a really good point though, is a lot of the time the memories that we associate to joy, or the things that we associate to joy, mold us to who we are. Like, they are core memories. They make us who we are. And I know we've talked about it, how much I can never walk away from military life. Like, I could never not say I'm a military wife, because that molded so much of who I am, what I do, how I like, so much of it. And yes, not all of it has been joy or happiness, but it molded me into the person I am today in a portion of me. Like, it truly did. And so I think it's interesting how you mentioned that, because so many times the moments that we look at for joy are truly the moments that shape us. They are, because they are so long lasting, because it's not happiness that can go away in a fleeting moment. These are true, intense feelings that they don't go away. Like, the moment might pass, but these memories and these feelings and these things, they stick. They don't go away. And
Right.
so I find it very interesting, because I was worried about whether or not we could find this, how do we relate joy and not feel like we're repeating ourselves? And as we've kind of sat here, I think it's interesting because it's different. These are different memories. These are different moments that maybe we haven't talked about. I haven't talked about that picture before. You haven't talked about your soccer coach before.
Yeah.
But they're pivotal moments in who we are.
While you're speaking, like, I'm thinking about all the things that so far that have shaped me, and like as a child and young adult, and in my marriage, and everything that has shaped me, like it's multifaceted. So or like layers. So I look back and I think about being in that moment. So say soccer practice, like it sucked. We were running, we were working out, like it's strenuous activity. And but yet I put myself through it time and time, every day after every day during soccer season, again and again, because I loved it. Right. And so then I look back in my marriage and some really difficult points in our marriage where I didn't even know if Eric and I were going to be married anymore. But so hold on, sorry, let me gather my thoughts. So what I'm trying to say is like, it's, if I'm thinking about it correctly, like everything that shaped me was a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
But yet now that I'm on the other side of them, this in like this intense joy, this strong, long lasting happiness, this feeling of so much satisfaction. And what was the word in the definition? Um
Feeling of great pleasure and happiness.
pleasure, that's the word.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the satisfaction, pleasure. I look back and like, I have all of those feelings for those
Yeah.
things that during was so hard.
Yes.
And it's kind of weird. I never I never connected the I never connected those events to being joyful.
Right. Right. And I think that's an interesting thing to kind of think about, because in the midst of all of our troubles, difficulties, hard times, like I, as you were talking, because I was like, the movie Inside Out, I feel like is a great representation of finding the joy, right? Is
Yes.
truly bringing joy and finding joy, because she's in the midst of a move, she's having this difficulty. How do I adjust, find new friends, on the top of like learning myself, like, right? We understand ourselves a little bit better than a teen would, but it comes to this memory, like where, or a moment in the movie where her and her mom go out for a piece of pizza, and it's awful pizza, but they're walking back and they're laughing about this concept, right? And you go and they flash into her head of like, disgust is all mad about it, anger is all mad about it, like they're all having this conversation, and there's joy just kind of like radiating, right? Of like, this is it. And it's interesting though, because it's like in those moments, we don't always think it's joyful. We don't always think, yay, hooray. It's not until after that we find the joyfulness, and we can find and see that joyfulness, because like we were saying, like, what's the difference between happiness versus joy? And it being like, happiness is that overall. So we feel like, okay, in the minute, I can find the happiness, right?
Yeah.
I can find the moment I'm okay. I can find the moment that I'm all right. I can find these moments a lot quicker for happiness. It's not until you get through it that you can find that joy. Until you get past and you look back, like it seems like it's a very much so a memory orientated thing when we're talking joy.
You
It
know,
might not currently be the joy.
and I think that's such a valid thing to say because, you know, we lived it and we're living it, and so many other military spouses are living it too. But at least for us, we have the perspective of coming out on the other side, where some might still be in the struggle. And and a lot of people in society nowadays, what I've noticed is they want to be happy.
Yeah.
You know, they look for happiness. If something is wrong in their marriage, there a lot of people nowadays are quick to be like, I'm not happy, I want a divorce, or I'm not happy, something needs to happen, which, yeah, okay. But or in their job, or in with their kids, or whatever the situation may be. And it's such an instant gratification society that we live in, that we a lot of times aren't willing to go through that struggle to get to the joyful outlook on life. And
Agreed.
again, like, I'm saying this because I've been there. I'm still going through struggles that later on,
Yeah.
hopefully I can look back on joy as it I can look back and see it as joy. But from the things that I have been through, it gives me hope that with what I'm going through now, I'll come out on the other end joyous.
Right. I mean, none of us electively choose like this. The image that comes to my head is this idea of like electively choosing, I'm going to go through childbirth on a daily basis. Like we don't that does isn't a moment that we find joyful, especially in the middle of it. We are like, this is horrendous. I want no longer to be a part of this. Like we can think of it and look at that and be like, childbirth is horrendous. Like this is not fun. It's not a fun thing. But yet you can now, in the minute, it's not. But when you look back at, like, I look back at each one of my deliveries and I smile, I find joy in it, I laugh at them, I do find joy because it's like, I got my baby from this, I got this from this, I got, look what I have. And I can find joy because I've triumphed past it. And so like, I really hope that this episode gives encouragement. That even in the midst of it, you might not be thinking this is not joyful, guys. Like, I'm in the rough and tough of a, year-long deployment, 6 months in, I've got toddlers and kids, and it is no fun. No fun. But
or my husband came home and it turned everything upside down. And
right.
This is no fun.
Yeah. I mean, it could be literally a million and one things that can happen of like, this is not joyful. Yep. You're losing it. I don't know what you want to tell me that. How do you tell me that this is a joyful moment? But I'm here to, like, I hope that we can all take the encouragement from the fact that you will be able to look back and find joy in it. I mean, we both can look back at, is it maybe the entirety of it? Is it the, like, because I can look at it and be like, okay, this duty station, like Colorado or Germany, I can like sit there and be like, okay, this was super cool. Here's the joy from this, right? And it's not that you block out the bad, but you can have the ratio of good to bad kind of thing and be like, this was a joyful experience. This was fun. This was great. I loved it. Yes, it built me though. It made me stronger. It challenged me. It allowed me to step in to who I'm meant to be, more of me, more of my family, more. And so sometimes that transition isn't fun, but there is joy that can come out of it.
So this reminds me of, okay, this is me. This is my Christian Ashley, my religious Ashley coming out here. But John 15, okay, in the Bible, talks about being pruned. God, sorry, I'm losing my words today. Seems to be a recurring theme here. It talks about being pruned. It talks about the true vine and it being pruned. And when something like a plant or whatever gets pruned, and the dead and all the yucky parts get cut back, it makes room for new growth and for healthy growth to come in. And yes, that's talking about a vine, but if we look at it applicably for our lives, those struggles and everything that we go through, and whether we decide to cut back or not, our lives are being quote unquote pruned, and it's shaping you and it's molding you, and all of those things are making room for new growth and better growth. Mm-hmm. And when you're speaking, I just kept thinking, what does that need? It needs time.
Yes.
It needs time. And so to be patient and have grace with yourself as you're going through those things, because we want you to come out victorious on the other end. We want you to be able to see the joys on the other side, but allow yourself time to go through it, which stinks.
Yeah.
Yes, I get it, but um it's something that is, you're working, you're you're doing all the things, and life just, you just need to be patient with yourself.
Yeah. I think, well, and it's funny you say that we need time to find joy, right? We need time to be able to find it and look for it and have that joy. But yet it is a constant and long lasting feeling. Like it is
Yeah.
it requires time. It literally stated in its definition is a long lasting feeling. And yet we need time to be a part of it. We need a time to find it. And I think as you were talking, I went with so many people can find happiness faster than they can find joy because, like you mentioned, is it's the instant gratification. Well, happiness is now. This isn't happy, this is happy. Happy is okay.
Yeah.
It's not long lasting. That's not the definition of happiness. It's okay. It's tolerable. It's fine, right? But joy is something that we have to work for, and a lot of people don't want to work. Like
Yeah.
putting it plainly, we were so used to the instant gratification that, well, it's hard to find joy in this. Right. I get that. But now look at it in segments. Find joy in the last 6 months, find joy in the last year, find joy in this moment, right? Like find the thing it's going to take time. Be patient with yourself, be patient with others, be open. Don't expect the instant gratification. Like, and I think the other part that was kind of is interesting is the challenge isn't bad.
No.
We always associate challenge or difficulty or hardship to negativity. And maybe it's just pushing us outside of that comfort zone. We're growing, we're being pruned, we're coming into something different, and it's not a bad thing. Whereas there's going to be the ability for joy later. Like it is. You're going to be, and it's like that light versus darkness. If I'm only seeing lightness all the time, I can't even appreciate the light because I just expect it to be there. I always have it. It's there, right? If you are somebody who always has money, think about the millionaires out there. Okay, they all got money and it's constant flow. Good for them. Wonderful. They don't know what it's like to be having the hardships. Mm-hmm. Their joy is much different and harder to find because they have what they want, right? It's at their fingertips. They just have. And they don't understand that it's because of the difficulty that you can actually have joy. It's because of not having, right, of living on a mediocre paycheck and of not having your spouse around that you can find joy in the moment of having them in the room with you. You can find joy in splurging on a new this or that when you know that, you know what, my paycheck has always been small.
Yeah.
It's because of the dark and that not wonderful moment that you can find the light and appreciate it. And I think that it's not in the definition of joy, but it comes with the appreciation is when you can go, okay, I can appreciate. That's where I can find the joy. So I look at it and I go, how do we relate this to other military spouses that are in the thick of it to find joy? And I know you said being patient, give yourself time. Is there anything else that you're like, this would be good? This is something else you need to do so you can have joy or find joy.
You put me on the spot. That's okay. I think, okay, so I said being patient. Let me think about my experiences in this military life. And
because like my thing is it comes up with the idea of like reflection, constant reflection. So maybe that's journaling, right? And I've even done it where, I don't know if we've talked about this, but I have the letters from when Chris was in basic and AIT that we wrote to each other. And in the moment, it's this like, it was a tragedy, right? I was writing about something that was so awful that day or so hard to deal with that day. Now I look back and I'm like, so petty, but cute. Like, I find joy in looking at that because it's like, I got to reflect. So whether it's in a journal, whether it's in your own head of like, okay, what happened today? And it's that constant reflection, because if we don't reflect, we can't see. Again, back to light versus dark. If we don't reflect, you can't see the joy. You can't see that, because sometimes you're so in the thick of like the nasty in the dark, that it's hard to find it if you don't actively look for it.
I can totally get on board with that. 100%. I can agree wholeheartedly, for sure.
Because I think that's something, when you're in the midst of, well, I've got a husband who I don't understand, I've got kids, I'm moving, we're doing like all the things of military life, right? It's hard sometimes to take the time and not just be like, this sucks. Or you're in the middle of it and it's hard. But reflect on your day, write out the good, write out the day, good, bad, and otherwise. But reflection and patience, those are the two things. Because, I mean, aside from, obviously, we will both chalk faith on that concept, but in the essence of it is reflection and patience. If we don't have patience and we want instant gratification, we'll never find joy. But if we don't look for it and reflect it, we can't see it either.
I can see that. I can see reflection being an absolute must in that journey, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I'm just trying to find my words. It's I also was thinking, you got to be open.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be open and I think we mentioned, and for the sake of being repetitive, I don't want to be too repetitive, like we were saying, but again, being open and honest with both of those two things, being open and honest with being patient with yourself and reflecting on your life's history. So
yeah. And I think that, like, this episode it's not a lot of like how to, here's your steps, where to go, right? This is very much so, it's a personal experience. This is so personable personalized based on each person, right? It's individual, because it's you. It is your life. It is your experience. It's your take on it. My husband might look at that moment like I actually asked him once, and I go, if you could go back to any moment in time, where would you go back to? And he goes, I mean, I don't know. And then he like thought about it. He's like, I'd do my welcome home. And I was like, really? That is not on my repeat list. Like, I would not, nope, no, thank you. And I go, but I would go back to the day that I had Eli. And I woke up and saw him in, Eli in Chris's arms, and Chris was crying and he didn't know I was awake. I would repeat that moment 100 times over. Yes, there was chaos that led to that moment, but watching my husband become a dad for the third time and hold that baby and find so much true, unexplainable joy in the moment that it brought him to tears, I'd repeat 100 times over. Because what I find joyful is much different than what he found joyful, because his experience was being away. He just wanted to be home. He just wanted to feel again. Whereas me, I'm like, I want to watch you. I want to look what I helped bring to you. You know what I mean? It was just different. And so there's no like how to when it comes to finding joy. There's no directions. Steps 1 through 3 are not, it's you. We can tell you that there's going to be joy afterwards. There's going to be joy after you get through the moment. We can tell you 100 times. But when you're in the thick of it, remember that there can be joy. Like that's
remember that there's growth beneath that surface. You know, we plant a seed and we don't see the growth before the little sprout comes, but there's a tons of growth. And when we feel down, we feel like, you know, so this past year, I've said this about myself this past year so many times, and I feel like God has totally just like not even just pruned me, but just cut the whole damn tree back.
Right.
And I go, holy moly, I feel like there's nothing left anymore. And for a short while, well, I say short now because looking back it was short, but for a moment of time when I was really in that thick of that depression and that really down and low moment, I felt like there was nothing. I felt I was dead. I felt like I was stagnant, and everything was dark, like darkness, and not physically dark, but like just like there, I couldn't feel the light. I couldn't be the light. I couldn't accept light. And I just was in this funk, and I remember just like crying out to God and being like, don't abandon me. Don't leave me, because I feel completely alone. I feel completely lost. And he was working, and I'm yes, I'm relating this to our faith, but you know, you can look back in your life and see in other moments how you were growing in those moments, because I was growing. I was being refined. I was put in that fire to be refined, to be made new. And there was growth beneath that surface. There was roots that were going deeper. And I don't even know if a little sprout has sprouted. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out, but it doesn't matter, because I know that there's progress regardless of where I am in my growth. And so if you are in like that lowly moment in life, you know, I'm still going through this struggle. I'm still working through it. But even from the time where I was a year ago to where I am now, I do find like this is going to be, I can feel it in my heart. Like this is going to be another core memory of mine.
Yeah.
And this is going to bring me joy. I may not feel the long lasting right now, but I know that in this moment that I'm going through, I'm struggling through, I'm going through the mud and dredging through, like it is because I've had other experiences that were really hard. Again, I have that hope and I have that confidence that on the outside of this, if I just give myself patience, which I have been trying to, I've been learning about grace for myself and for my kids. And I trust that I am going to be joyous on the other side.
Yeah. It's powerful. A tip I would give is go back, guys. I know this sounds crazy, especially if you don't have young children. Go watch the Disney movie of Inside Out. Watch it again. Look at the situations of joy. It even started with, how does Riley get joy? She's a baby and finds sadness. She doesn't have joy without sadness right there. So it goes hand in hand. I mean, there's going to be emotions other than joy that go with it. Watch the movie, relate it to the situation you're in. I know it's talking about an adolescent teen trying to go through puberty. Got it. But we are all in a transition point. I think we can all take from that movie of, okay, if I'm in that transition point, right, I'm going from one stage to the next, I'm going from here to there, there's going to be something. You have core memories. Yes, there's going to be the not so pretty moments with it. It's okay. It's okay. But you can get through it, and you will. You can and you will. So I really hope that we can give you some joy, give you some light, give you some push towards that moment in the midst of, if you're in the midst of a lot of darkness or heaviness or hardship, that you can take from us and from this episode some version of that joy. And if you're on the other side and you're at the point of being able to look back and find joy, we would love to hear your thoughts. Where are you in the joy scheme? What brings you joy now that maybe in the midst of it, not so joyful? Share with us, because I hope that this can become the community. We can share the moments with those and link arms with those that are in the thick of it and be that place for you, but also understand that you will be on the other side. There will be a point where you can come through and be on the other side and find joy, and there will be lightness and positivity for you. But keep trucking is the only thing I got for you. You keep trucking forward. I don't care how slow it is. I don't care how fast it is. But just one foot in front of the other. It could be baby steps. As long as there's a step, one foot in front of the other, you're doing amazing. But make sure you follow along, guys. We have love next week. And that one I think will be fun. I think we're going to talk fun on that one. I know Ash and I thought about bringing our husbands on, and we would love to hear from you guys. Do you want to hear from our husbands? You hear from us every week. Would you love to hear from these guys? Because I think the topic of love would be super fun to bring them in, hear their perspective. Because love can look different on everybody's scale. Love can be different kinds of love, different ways to love. Different love is a fun topic. My husband will have lots
so yes, I mean, yes, agreed. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
So make sure you follow along, guys, and get on with us, get notified with us, subscribe, save, all the things. Because you never know. Our husbands might be on with us next week when we talk love. If we can coerce them or convince them to be here with us.
Y'all are in for a treat if that works.
If we can get both of them on, I mean, good luck to the audience. You might need to filter. Definitely don't bring your children to that episode. We cannot contain them some days. So be on the lookout for the next episode. Like we said, we will be talking love. But I want you guys to find the joy today and go be just the incredible humans you are, and know that you are loved completely for who you are. So we'll talk later, guys. We'll see you next week.